The oxygen recyclers hummed their eternal song as Feroz checked the navigation console for the third time that hour. The cargo hauler Meridian's Hope had been his home for 6 months now, a solitary existence broken only by supply station stopovers and the occasional distress beacon that turned out to be nothing more than space debris. The Kitsara were a mystery wrapped in legislation and fear. Every human who ventured beyond Earth's protective sphere learned the rules quickly. Never board a Kitsara vessel. Never accept their contracts. And above all, never make eye contact with a foxwoman. The stories varied, but the message remained consistent. Those who locked eyes with the Kitsara females found themselves bound by contracts they couldn't remember signing, obligations that stretched across lifetimes, debts that consumed entire bloodlines. The Galactic Council had issued warnings. The Human Colonial Administration had made it mandatory training. Feroz had listened. He had learned. He had sworn he would never be so foolish. Then Bella materialized on his ship. She hadn't asked permission. She hadn't hailed him. One moment, Feroz was alone in the cargo bay, conducting his standard maintenance check. The next, she stood between the storage containers, her fox ears twitching with what might have been amusement, her 3 tails swaying in a hypnotic pattern that seemed to defy the artificial gravity. "Your ship is damaged," she said, her voice carrying an accent that suggested she'd learned human languages from old Earth broadcasts. "The hull breach in Sector 7 will kill you in approximately 4 hours." Feroz kept his eyes fixed on her boots. They were impractical for shipboard life, elegant things that looked more ceremonial than functional. Everything about the Kitsara seemed designed to draw attention, to make humans look, to make them vulnerable. "I didn't detect any breach," he said, proud that his voice remained steady. "Your sensors are 30 years out of date. The microfracture is growing. I can hear the metal screaming." She took a step closer. "Look at me, Feroz Chen. I am not here to trap you." "That's exactly what you would say if you were here to trap me." A sound that might have been a laugh echoed through the cargo bay. "Clever human, but if I wanted to trap you, I would simply wait 4 hours. Dead men are easier to bind than living ones. Their debts pass to their kin and the contracts stretch so much farther." The logic was sound, but Feroz had heard too many stories. Marcus from Station Kepler 62, who had looked and now spent every waking moment working off a debt for crimes his great-grandfather allegedly committed. Sarah from the mining colony, who swore she'd only glimpsed a foxwoman's eyes in a reflection and still found herself compelled to deliver packages to locations that didn't exist on any map. "Why are you here?" Feroz asked the floor. "Because the fracture in your hull was not an accident. The Velcron want you dead, human. They planted an explosive charge that will make your death look like equipment failure. I am here to prevent galactic war." That got his attention, though he still refused to lift his gaze. "What do the Velcron have against me?" "I haul agricultural supplies." "You haul agricultural supplies that will save Colony Pershing 9 from famine. The Velcron have investments in Pershing 9's failure. Your death serves their economic interests." Her tail swished again, creating a breeze he could feel against his face. "I represent interests that prefer humanity survive. Look at me, Feroz. I cannot fix your ship while you insult me with your cowardice." "It's not cowardice. It's survival." "Is it?" Bella's voice grew sharper. "You have been trained to fear us, to see us as predators. But who taught you this? The Velcron sit on every council that writes your safety regulations. The hive minds that profit from human labor distribution author your cultural guides. You call this survival, but I call it domestication." Feroz felt his jaw tighten. He had never considered it from that angle. The rules had always existed, handed down from administration to colonist to hauler. But who wrote them? Who benefited from humanity's fear of the Kitsara? If you're so benevolent, why the reputation? Why do the stories exist? Because we offer what others fear, true contracts. Binding, eternal, unbreakable. In a galaxy built on lies and temporary alliances, we are the only ones who guarantee our word across generations. Bella's voice softened. "Yes, there are Kitsara who use this power cruelly. But there are also humans who murder, yet you do not avoid all of your kind." 4 hours. If she was telling the truth, he had 4 hours to live. If she was lying, looking at her might condemn him to something worse than death. But what if the real trap wasn't her eyes? What if the real trap was the fear itself? Feroz took a breath. He had survived meteor storms, reactor failures, and a Velcron boarding party that only left because his cargo wasn't worth the ammunition. He had earned his reputation as one of the most reliable independent haulers in the sector. He would not die in fear. Faraz lifted his head and met Bella's gaze. Her eyes were gold, flecked with amber, and deep enough to drown in. They held intelligence, amusement, and something that looked almost like respect. But there was no compulsion, no sudden weight of obligation, no mystical binding that locked his will away. There was only a foxwoman, watching him with the same wariness he felt. "Well?" he asked. Bella smiled, and it transformed her face from alien to almost human. "Well, now we can begin. Follow me to Sector 7, Faraz Chen. Let me show you how humans survive when they stop following rules written by their enemies." As she turned toward the corridor, her tails swaying behind her, Faraz realized something profound. The greatest trick the galaxy had played on humanity wasn't teaching them to fear the Kitsara. It was teaching them to fear their own choice. He followed her into the depths of his ship, and for the first time in 6 months of solitude, Faraz didn't feel alone. The oxygen recyclers hummed. The hull breach waited. And somewhere in the black between stars, the Velcron were about to learn that humanity's most dangerous trait wasn't their technology or their numbers. It was their willingness to trust the wrong people for exactly the right reasons.